Hello, knitters. It is the last Thursday of the month. So we are live to chat about knitting, fiber, all kinds of stuff. And if you've been here before, you know it's going to be a little bit unhinged. We are going to wander. Hello and welcome, and thank you everyone for joining me. I am Barbara Benson. I am an independent knitwear designer who has this YouTube channel called Watch Barbara Knit, where I talk about what I hope are entertaining subjects and shenanigans and things like that. Thank you all for joining. Let's see who we have. We have our early bird, Nancy. Hello, Karen, who is working on a yarn poncho. Excellent. Hello, Rosandra and Alexandra. And let's see here. Yeah, we've got a couple of people from Colorado already, which is awesome. Deborah, Sarah Joe, my golfer, is here. Hello, Lisa, the Yarn Over girl. Debbie, excellent, has her Diet Coke. My golfer girl is going to get her a drink of choice. Got some tea and some coffee. Yeah, we party hard. Hello, Linda and Emmy and Cypher in Wisconsin. Hello, Mary Beth in Long Island, New York. Oh, how you pronounce it? Oh, pressed flower, Debbie. That is a very popular pattern. Hello, Kathleen and Jenna in Cincinnati, Virginia from Texas, a thinking humanist, Nicole in Winnipeg. Oh my goodness, that is super exciting. Emmy is having homemade mango sorbet. That sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you all for joining me here tonight. It is March. And here in Florida, it is starting to get pretty much into like the hot season. We have some cool days, but it's pretty hot. I know a lot of y'all are still places where it's cool. So you still have time to knit lots of warm, fun things. To kick things off, I did get 2 ahead of time questions, and they're kind of funny because I can't really answer them. Um, let's see here. Hello, Jenna. You just finished binding off Impulse Buy and you're going to post it. Thank you so much. I love it when people post pictures of their work. It makes me so excited to see what you've done. I hope you enjoyed knitting Impulse Buy, Jenna. I think it's a really fun pattern. I enjoyed knitting it. Kathleen is making her first baby sweater for son and wife. So you're making 2 sweaters, or is it your son and his wife you're making a baby sweater for? Whatever. Baby sweaters are fast and fun. Snow in New Jersey. I told you I knew some of y'all were cold. Hello, Deborah from Cincinnati. Or are you saying hello to Deborah? I don't know. It's confusing. Hello, Knit Eco Chic. Welcome, Knit Eco Chic. I'm so excited that you've joined us. She is also a knitwear designer, and I love when they come in because frequently they can answer questions that I don't have an answer for. Debbie has 90s for the next 10 days in Fort Myers. I'm in Sarasota, so we got the same thing. Goodyear, Arizona. Ellen. Hello, Ellen. I have been to Arizona. Strangely enough, the place when I went to visit Arizona, we went to Kingman, Arizona, because that is where my uncle was living. So it's not exactly the big name I think that people think of when they think of Arizona, but it was fun. Sarah Joe, you cast on Mapes. Ooh, Dusty Peach. That'll be fantastic. Rosanda, you're not cold. You're in the 60s. You know what? The 60s sounds like a good place. I would love to live someplace that was in like the mid 70s year round. That would be my sweet spot. Rockies are getting hammered with snow. Well, they like snow there. Don't they do a lot of skiing and snowshoeing and stuff? Okay, Jenna says that Impulse Buy was a lot of fun and great for video watching while I knit. That was the intention behind that shawl, was for it to be comfort knitting that could be fairly instinctual. It has just enough to hold your attention, but You can put it on cruise control. And when I wanted to specifically use the word cruise control because when you put your car on cruise control, you still have to pay attention to where you're going. You can't just like check out or take a nap. So you've got like cruise control patterns where you still are engaged and you got to kind of pay attention, but not like super duper focus. But it's not turn your brain off knitting. And there is always time for turn your brain off knitting in those kinds of patterns. Impulse buy is just a cruise control pattern. Um, okay, there you go. Perfect. So Kathleen says that she's making her son and his wife a baby sweater. So I was confused if you were making one baby sweater or like 3 sweaters or what, but that is going to be a whole lot of fun. Okay, so I received one email from someone named Max, who I do not believe is um can't even make a proper snowball. Your snow is broken. Rosandra says her snow is broken. That's no fun. I mean, at least you should be able to have fun with the snow if you got to deal with it. Oh, Cindy is also working on Impulse Buy. How excited. You suggested it to thank you so much. Okay. Cindy just said something and I want to repeat it because I really appreciate it. She said she's almost finished with her impulse buy. Can't wait to wear it. Even suggested it to 2 local yarn stores as a one skein project. That I cannot thank you enough for doing that because honestly, I do my best to make videos to talk to you about my patterns and to show you the patterns. And I put it up online so people can see pictures of the pieces. But the number one thing that is going to inspire someone to knit a piece is to see it in person or to see it online. That's why, I mean, when you post it and someone sees that someone other than me has successfully accomplished that pattern, they're like, hey, I can do it too. And when local yarn stores knit up samples and have them in their store, it really helps me sell patterns. And if you have a good relationship with your local yarn store, you can say, hey, I know Barbara, the designer of this from online. And if a local yarn store wants to make a sample of one of my patterns, you can tell them to email me, drop your name from, say, she's a viewer from Watch Barbara Knit, and I am happy to send them a gift copy of the pattern because if they're going to knit a sample from it and have it in their store, then that's going to be beneficial to me. So I'm happy to gift them the pattern so that they can either knit it up themselves or have a sample knitter knit it. So if you're in good with your local yarn store and feel like I have a pattern that you think will go well in that store, you just send them to me, and I really do appreciate that. Hello, Arnetta in Washington, D.C. Um, Mary Beth, thank you so much. I'm so glad. The response to Impulse Buy has really blown me away because you just never know what's going to grab people's attention. And I thought it was a super fun and easy pattern, but again, just enough to engage you. It's not like a beginner pattern. It's an easy pattern. Oh, get a little water. You know what, Kathleen? Knitting for babies, I've like considered knitting for like imaginary babies because there's so many adorable baby patterns out there and I just love them. Okay, so I've mentioned it. I got an email of a person named Max who had a question. I don't think they've popped up here yet, but if they watch this on replay, hello, Max. Thank you for the question. G Max, G period MAXX. And the thing is this question really, I need them and hopefully they will show up because it says, what is the good fiber to pair with 100% linen lace weight yarn? I need more context. I can't make a definitive answer to that. What are you making with it? 100% linen lace weight yarn. It entirely depends on what you're making and what your end goal for that project is. If you're making a lightweight shawl, you can just knit lace weight linen by itself. If you can make a beautiful lace weight linen top, you can use that yarn all by itself. A linen is very strong. It's very breathable. I, you know, It's not soft though. So if you wanted to make it softer, you could pair it with some wool. But if your goal is for something lightweight, wool isn't gonna be something you want. So I really can't answer the question without more information. But combining yarn is a great idea because sometimes you can't find a yarn that has like your exact uh parameters that you need for what you're doing, and mixing them can help you get closer to your goal. But if Max shows up, hopefully we will be able to answer that question. Hello, Jenna. Cobweb shawl. Are you going to knit a cobweb shawl out of 100% lace weight linen? Is that what we're talking about? Yes. Knit Eco Chic has now Knit Eco Chic is really cool. She's a designer who's allergic to animal fibers. So she only works with um plant-based fibers, and I believe silk, which is not technically a plant-based fiber but acts like a plant-based fiber. So she is an expert on these kinds of things. And she says linen softens the more you work it, so give it a good workout before casting on. So when you say give it a good workout, what are you meaning? I mean, are you talking about like thwacking it like you do when you're spinning, or like just messing with it? How do you work out a yarn? I'm curious. Oh, Rosandra. Rosandra has asked, what are your thoughts about using woolite for our wool knits? I have very strong thoughts about that. And the thought is don't. Do not. Do not use woolite for hand knits. Woolite is a very harsh detergent. It is, I mean, it's called woolite, but is really not good for wool. Woolite really was designed and marketed, and the whole idea behind it is it's to keep your whites like white. It is a very harsh, it will damage hand knitting yarns. It really was developed and created and marketed like in the 50s and earlier towards so that housewives can get their linens and their unmentionables, super white. And it's really harsh, and it is not appropriate for washing any hand knits as that I know of. So it's great for using, I mean, it's good for your delicates, and it's fine for what they consider delicate garments as far as your undergarments and linens and things like that, but is not good for wool and other animal fibers and fine hand knitting yarns. Yeah, it is not good. It is no good. What you want to use when you are laundering your hand knits, and mostly I'm talking about animal fibers, you can do slightly different things when you're getting into superwash wools and things like that. But you want to use a wool wash, a product specifically designed for washing hand knits. And wool washes, they're called like there's one called Soak, there's one called Eucalan. I don't know, I blanked for a second. And these are specifically designed for hand washing, or you can use Eucalan and Soak in your washing machine. So if you're washing something on like a delicate cycle, but they're specifically designed to be no rinse. What you do is you put your piece in lukewarm water with the wool wash and just swish it around a little bit and let it soak in it. And it's the soaking process that cleans it and causes, and the stuff in the wool wash like clings to the yucky stuff and makes it fall into the bottom. And then you lift the garment out gently, and it's a no rinse thing. You don't have to rinse because that the wash, the detergent or whatever it is, falls out of it. So it's a soaking situation, and you don't want agitation in most of your fine woolens. Now, super washes obviously are an exception to that. um Hello, Knit and Crochet Tiger. We've just been talking about why you shouldn't use woolite. Is where I got a little soapbox about woolite. Okay. Well, Rosander, you can still use it for like some of your other stuff, like your manufactured stuff, but do not use it for any of your hand knits. Um, Yeah, Francine, there you go. Uclan. I forget. Uclan just totally blanked on me. I don't use Uclan, and that's not because it's not a nice product. I don't use Euclan because I'm allergic to eucalyptus and lanolin. And Euclan, the EU part of it, EUC part stands for eucalyptus, and the LAN part of it stands for lanolin. It is a wool wash that uses both eucalyptus and lanolin in the product, and I'm allergic to both of those things. So I can't use that. I use Soak, which doesn't have either of those things in it, but they both are excellent products. And a lot of people really like Euclan. Euclan is really good for wools because of the lanolin in it. It kind of restores some of that lanolin to more of the more processed yarns, because most wools that we knit with have been processed to remove most of the lanolin. Hello, Karen. Can we talk more about using different fiber content yarns together? Yeah, Knit Eco Lindsay, Knit Eco Chic, stay away from Euclid. Yeah, Euclid. Ooh, Arnetta David, I use Kookaburra. Ooh, I've not heard of Kookaburra. I will have to look that up. Kookaburra. Ooh, that's exciting. I'm going to have to check that one out. I'll have to see. Okay, so it says our unique blend of tea tree and the lanolin. So I'm afraid I can't do that kookaburra, but that sounds great. I love tea tree oil. I use tea tree oil when I get like blemishes and things like that, and it just nukes them. So that is really, really cool. Okay, so Karen wanted to talk more about using different fiber content yarns together. So, what do you want to talk about? You can use different fiber content yarns together. So, really, one of the things when I teach about yarn is I talk about different fiber blends, right? So, there are all different kinds of fiber blends out there every time. I mean, there are constantly yarn companies coming up with new blends. Your most common you're going to see is your sock yarns have a wool nylon blend, right? So wool is there for warmth in spring, and it is a nice grippy kind of thing. The nylon in there is for strength. It is to prevent your socks from wearing through like within 2 wears. So that's like your most common combo you're going to see is your wool and your nylon. That is everywhere. You can see wools combined with silk. You can see wools combined with bamboo. What those are doing is similar actually to what they're doing with the nylon. Silk is stronger, so a wool combined with silk is going to make that yarn stronger, and it's going to give a shine, a visual effect. It's going to make it shinier because silk tends to be shinier, unless it's the kind of silk that's not shiny, which does exist, but the strength is going to be there, and it gives it better drape. Silk is a very drapey fiber. And sometimes maybe what you'll have is you'll have something that what they wanted was the silk, but they didn't want it to be so drapey. So they put the wool in it to give it a little bit more body and to give it a little bit more memory. Bamboo kind of fills the same purpose. Bamboo's kind of shiny. Bamboo is very, very drapey, and it stretches like all get out when you block it. So they might add wool to the blend to keep it from stretching quite so much. You might add cotton to wool to lighten it up, to make it so it's not so warm. Maybe you want some of the properties of wool, you want some of the memory of wool, you like the how wool is, but you don't want it to be as warm. So you might bring some cotton to the party. Cotton's going to change the texture. Cotton is going to change the insulative factor. Wool and alpaca. Alpaca is very, very drapey and even warmer than wool. Alpaca is more insulative than wool. So if you wanted to make a wool garment, but also have it be warmer than just a straight wool garment would be, you might add a little bit of alpaca to it. But alpaca is going to fight against wool's tendency to have good memory. It's going to make it drapier. So there's a balance you have to get to. What? Knit Crochet Tiger. What fiber types pair well together, which should not be put together? Is there a consensus on that? So the answer is no. There is no consensus on fibers that should and should not be. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. It, And it's just experimentation is super fun, and I would not say that I would do. Have I ever used? Rosander has asked, have I ever used 100% lyocell? No, I have not used 100% lyocell. Lyocell is just another 10 cell. I mean, it's all in the rayon family. They're going to be very slippery and very, very drapey and have zero memory. They're beautiful and silky and things like that. And but no, I have not knit with them. I would be careful with knitting with them. You would definitely want to use a wood or even a bamboo needle because they are going to slide all over the place. It's a very, very slippy, slippy, slidey thing. Karen is asking, is a blended fiber content yarn going to be completely different than holding two yarns of differing fibers together? It is going to be different, Karen. So that's a good question. What we were talking about is holding, if you can't find a yarn that has the fiber blend that you want, in theory, you could find two yarns that, when combined together, have the fiber profile that you want. But yes, holding those two yarns together is going to affect the end result as far as how the fabric drapes, because two yarns held side by side knit differently and drape differently than if all the fibers are spun as one. And that's really, so it's not 100% interchangeable, but you know what? I haven't experimented with it extensively, so I don't really know how much of a difference it's going to be. As far as holding two yarns together, what I've mostly done is I've held fingering yarn double as substitute for DK weight yarn, and it gives you a slightly different fabric. It behaves differently, it drapes differently. And I've done the thing where you hold fingering weight yarn with a mohair or a lace weight mohair, lace weight alpaca. And again, it does affect the weight a little affects the drape, but mostly what you're coming for there is the fuzz, because people love fuzz. So I'm not going to say it's going to be completely different, but it will be different. Um, I'm wondering what Emmy is not super impressed about. I missed something, but that is very cool. I love that y'all chat with each other as much as you're chatting with me, because this is the community, and I really like it. Okay, so Mad Mimi's crochet and farming. There is a story there. I just knit my very first sock, boot sock, with 3 yarns, wool nylon blend, superwash wool, and Angora, all like held together. That is some serious. I have super fluffy boot sock. I still have to make the second. I'm a beginner knitter. Well, you are hitting it off. You're jumping in with both feet, Mad Mimi, because that is a whole lot of yarn to hold together. So what she has there is the wool nylon blend is your standard sock blend, wool for warmth, nylon for strength. The superwash wool is just going to bring more warmth to it and a little bit of drape. Angora. So Angora is going to bring a lot of fuzz and it's going to bring a lot of warmth, but Angora is a very, very delicate fiber. So what having those other 2 yarns is going to do is hopefully protect that Angora a little bit. That's going to be interesting. LPGA, I heard that when blocked, silk grows a lot because the weight. Is it true? So silk does grow a lot when you block it, simply because silk doesn't have any memory. And you can stretch it, but I don't necessarily know it's because of the weight. That's going to depend entirely on the actual weight of your yarn. That is more true of cotton. Cotton grows under its own weight. If it is a heavier silk, and most of the silks I've worked with have been fine silks. So if you're looking at a heavier silk, yes, it could grow under its own weight because you're making a heavier garment. And what it is the thing that holds structure in a garment is memory. And wool has excellent memory because the fibers are not smooth. The fibers have little tiny scales on them. If you imagine a shark or a snake. Okay. And if you would run your hand along it one way, it's smooth. But if you try to pent against it, all those little scales are going to flip up. And so when they're in the yarn and they try to slide past each other, they catch on each other and they hold their shape. plant fibers and silk don't have those scales. So they don't catch on each other. So when something pulls on them, they just pull. So they'll elongate. And that's what gives them drape, but it will also cause a garment to elongate if the garment isn't designed to deal with those fibers. There are things that you can do, and Knit Eco Chic could definitely give more information on this, and her patterns are catering to this type of thing. You have to build more structure into the garment. You have to, I mean, it's going to work most of the time. Cottons and linen and things work better if they are in a pieced garment where you have to sew the pieces together, so you have more places for that weight to rest on as opposed to just being knitting around. But you can put in fake seams, and there are things that you can do working on the bias changes how it's going to elongate. But yes, it can grow. um Emmy. She okay. Emmy, the thing she was not impressed is 100% lyocell. Yes. Emmy says 100% lyocell is splitty and stretches a lot and it's super slippery. Yeah, that's all, but it's really shiny and they can get gorgeous colors. So, you got to decide what you want. Rosandra, I was gifted a sweater's quantity of it. It looks great. Was wondering how it holds up. It is a delicate fiber. And it's it's going to be interesting. I would swatch it and like kind of abuse the swatch and see how you feel it holds up before you commit it. I don't know that I would knit a sweater out of lyocell, but maybe some people do. Okay. Jenna KH asked, any hints for holding two yarns together? So my hint for holding two yarns together would be get used to untangling yarn. It's going to tangle around itself. A lot of times when I'm knitting with two yarns together, I actually have the yarns in like two separate smaller bags put inside a bigger bag. Like if you have two drawstring bags, if you do plastic, if you have two Ziploc bags where they're separate so they don't flop around on top of each other, but they are going to twist around each other. But other than that, you just knit with two yarns held together the exact same way that you knit with one yarn. It's the same thing. Okay, so Knit Eco Chic said that when she tested it, then I'm going to guess that's with silk we're talking about, growth result of the needle size and the stitch pattern. And that is another thing about plant fibers and everything. Sometimes they need to be knit at denser gauges than a wool fiber because you need to, again, to give it that structure. Hello. Oh, wait a minute. OG's Hookin' and Stitchin' Island Style. That is a fabulous name. Hello. Welcome. Shark or snake, spoken like a true Floridian. I was thinking of stuff with scales, a shark or a snake. Well, what I was thinking of is, so with the shark thing, actually, a lot of times when I'm talking about the scales, what I talk about is when you go into an aquarium and there's the spot where you can pet like a sturgeon, where they'll have a sturgeon in there and they have the big shiny scales, and they always tell you only go one way, because if you go the opposite way, you are going to tear your hands up. Okay, Sarah Jo, it is okay for you to bring up a completely different topic. That is what we do here. I know I'm a sci-fi fan. Have you watched Battlestar Galactica? Oh, I do not care for Battlestar Galactica. I know. My husband really liked Battlestar Galactica and watched the whole thing. I watched the first episode and just did not. It didn't grab me. I couldn't handle Starbuck as a woman, and I know that's wrong. I just couldn't. But there are things that I didn't like about it that really is not appropriate to talk about in this context, because it's a very adult show, and there were a couple of things that happened that just right away I knew I wasn't going to like it. I love science fiction, okay? I really do. But I need my science fiction to have consistent internal logic, okay? And then the last scene of the first episode of Battlestar Galactica, there is a person who they think is human, who is actually a robot, a Cylon, being intimate with someone else in a dark room. And then we find out they're a Cylon because there's a pullback and her black back is like glowing red. Okay. They're in a dark room. Does he not notice that there's a red glow coming out of this woman? So it just kind of broke. I have to have a suspension of disbelief, but if there's something like absurd like that, it just breaks my ability to enjoy it because I'm like, that's just ridiculous. So it's just I never got into it, but I am very familiar with Battlestar Galactica. Okay. Um okay. Do. Okay, got that. Apparently, yeah, Rosanda's gonna gift the yarn. You know what? Somebody will love that yarn. Okay, which for pins for blocking are better? Combs are T-pins or both? It depends on what you block. I typically use a combination of wires and T-pins. Now, number one thing you have to know is both things have to be rust proof. Okay? They need to be stainless steel, or if they're nickel plated, you need to inspect them regularly to make sure that nickel plating has not worn off because you do not want rust stains on your work. The combs, I know a lot of people love the combs and they do work really well. The nip blockers, you have to block a lot of things that are straight. They're really good for street things because you have that where you need things. And if you look at my designs, so many of my things are curved. I like curves. I don't do a lot of straight things. They're great for blocking straight things. Having both in your repertoire and in your arsenal and your tool chest is really a good idea, just fine. But I tend to get by fine. I have straight wires, I have flexible wires, and I have a boatload of T-pins that I use regularly. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Dun, dun, dun. Yarn barf tangles. Nancy, Nikki, hi Nikki. Nancy of Knit Sip Happy is spinning a new braid of 63 merino, 25 nylon, 12 bamboo. That is very interesting. That should be, yeah, the nylon is going to make it strong, the merino is going to make it warm, and the bamboo is going to make it all slippery. Bamboo, I love bamboo and yarn, but it is a challenge to work with. It grows. You have to be very careful on your gauge. If you have a yarn that has bamboo content, you have to be very careful and observant with your gauge swatch and blocking it and wet blocking it because bamboo grows like just like nothing else. It grows like kudzu. Um, Knit Crochet Tiger, Katie Sackhoff was not good as Starbuck. She's way better as Boca. Yes, I don't have anything against Katie Sackhoff. No, not at all. It's just Galactica was not my thing. No, Jenna, I love The Expanse. I absolutely adore The Expanse. I like The Expanse so much. Let me see if I can find okay, I'm doing something on my thing over here. Doopy doopy doo. Okay. Actually, you know what? It's going to be easier to do it this way. So, here's my book. Big Yarn, Beautiful Lace Knits. I have 2 patterns in it. This one is Avasarala. So, and it actually is designed, it's a really interestingly shaped cowl, but it also, if you look here, it could be worn with a sari. So I've got Avasarala in there, and I also have, let me find it. This is Rasanate. So That's how much I like The Expanse. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to get that back up. And I knocked Riker down, so that's a problem. Okay. So, yes, love The Expanse. I spent a ton on this stuff and spent a ton of time. I'm so sorry, Emmy, that happened. So, okay, Sarah Joe actually knew what I was talking about. Six is back. Um, you know what? I have a very limited attention span, and the fact that I watched like the entire first episode was big. But if a TV show loses me, they've lost me. I'm done. I just don't. There are other things that I can be doing. So you get a chance, and then I'm gone. Okay. Oh, and Rosander sews. Excellent. Oh, The Expanse is amazing. The Expanse is amazing to watch, if only for Ava Sarala's wardrobe. Okay, Ava Sarala wears amazing clothes. I just adore them. Hello, Soul Katie guys. I'm gonna guess we'd go with guys. Um, okay, let's see here. Goes like kudzu. Okay. Okay, no Battlestar Galactica wars in my chat. You convince someone to learn how to knit just to make the Dune shawls. That is hilarious, and I absolutely love it. Um, so I've always, I have more Dune shawl names. They just haven't become. They haven't become. I want to design an incredibly complicated shawl and name it. It is by Willa. It is by Will alone. I set my mind in motion. But I haven't decided how fiendishly difficult it needs to be. But and I need to. So my original intention was to do 3 series. So I have the Atreides series of shawls, and then I was going to do the 3 main houses. I have the Atreides series of shawls, and then I have the Imperial House, um, the Imperial series of shawls, which is Irulan, Golden Lion Throne, and Sardaukar. And my intention was also to do the Harkonnen, but I just got stuck there because very little of the Harkonnen imagery is attractive. I couldn't get there. I seriously considered doing like a red V-shaped shawl and naming it Fade, Feyd, after the little bikini that Sting wears in the Lynch version, but I thought that might be pushing it a little too hard. Mimi, you started my blanket in there last night. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to see it. Sarah, you've made Shoot the Moon 3 times? That is so cool. Thank you. I thought that was a fun shawl. And actually it's interesting. It's like the exact opposite of Impulse Buy. So it's got like the stockinette across the top and then all the lace at the bottom. And Impulse Buy only has the lace at the top and the solid fabric at the bottom. So it's like completely flipped. Okay, Susan Marshall. I tried to make bust darts at the top. It was appeared to be short on my chest. Prior, I only did 14 stitch. Is that a continuation, Susan? That kind of came out of nowhere. Did something scroll by? I am afraid that hang on. Let me look at something. I'm afraid that I don't do garment design, Susan. So I'm going to be spectacularly unhelpful with that. I have never done bust darts, and I've only ever knit one sweater, and it was not shaped at all. So I'm afraid I am not going to be helpful for that, Susan. Okay. Okay. The Battlestar Galactica saga continues. Okay. Let's see here. Karen, my sci-fi fandom helps my knitting because my husband love it too. Have you seen my TIE fighter? I was actually in the Star Wars book and I have a TIE fighter hat and mitten colorwork piece that I frankly am beside myself that it is an official Star Wars pattern, like Lucasfilm approved it. So that makes me so, so happy. Um, the book for national parks. Cindy, that book is amazing. So Cindy is mentioning the national parks book. The problem with doing a sci-fi book, Cindy, is copyright infringement. So I was in the Knitting the Galaxy, which is the Star Wars book. If you ever want to do anything like that, you have to get like official blessings from those companies. So Tanis Gray is an amazing editor and designer, and she kind of has a she's dialed in on how that she's done the Harry Potter books, she's done all different kinds, she's done the Disney books. She understands all of that licensing and everything. Um the problem is if I tried to do a sci-fi one, I can't really use the names. It would get me in trouble as far as copyright infringement and trademarking and all that kind of stuff. So it would be cool if I need test knitters. Sergio, I will let you know. Oh, yeah, TARDIS. There's a lot of really cool Doctor Who stuff out there too. Susan, I'm not certain what so chat is limited. Um, chat, I have slow chat on, which limits you to posting once every 5 seconds. And the reason I have to do that is there are trolls that will get on here and say really inappropriate things. And I believe there is a limit to the number like of characters you get. I think the limit is 200 characters. So you can't write a big long thing because it's more supposed to be like a conversation. So but I am not going to be able to help you with bust shaping on a garment at all. Ooh, doo, doo. Okay. I don't really do test knitting, but I will keep that in mind. Are you all on my, if you're all in my Facebook group, you know what? If I ever do call for test knitters, it will probably be in my Facebook group. Nikki Loeffler, I looked up what traditional right to left knitters call mirror knitting. It's not how we knit. Mirror knitting would be like purling through the back loop for us. Super funny. So I most frequently what I've heard mirror knitting, it's true left-handed knitting. It is where, I mean, when you're knitting, you have your full, your standard knit, traditional, I don't want to say normal because you can knit any way you want, but typically you have your needle full of stitches in your left hand and you knit off of the left needle onto the right needle. Mirror knitting is your full needle with all the stitches in your right hand and you're knitting off of the right hand onto the left hand. And it's really true left-handed knitting. I can't even wrap my brain around it. Yes. So Emmy, yes, I have one pattern in the official Star Wars book. And really at that point, I was like, okay, I can die happy. I'm very excited about that. LPGA, I'm about to finish my first V-neck sweater and I'm terrified about doing the neckline. Scary. Just follow the instructions. Make sure you've read through it. Make sure the only thing I would worry about is if it's a if it has set in sleeves, make sure to read through it and there's no at the same time instructions, because if you're supposed to be shaping the neck and the armholes at the same time, sometimes the instructions are stacked and it's like here's all the information on knitting the neckline and then it says and at the same time you were also supposed to be doing that. So make sure you've read through it and you know roughly what is fixing to happen. Okay. Oh, you got the book from the library? That is a fantastic way to get books. Yes, so it's the TIE Fighter hat and mitts are in that book. And what I did is I actually used, well, Sarah Joe, we can also talk about it on here. Don't worry about it. So the TIE Fighter, it's slip stitch color work. It's not stranded, and I had a lot of fun. Thinking humanist, what kind of people trolls knitter? It's just honestly, unfortunately, it's not that they're trolling knitters, it's that they see a woman They see a woman live broadcasting and they're just trolling a woman. And on the occasion when it has happened, it's because they see a fat woman. And they're like, obviously, if this woman is putting herself live on the internet, she doesn't actually realize that she's fat and nobody wants to see her. So they just feel the need to inform me that in case I didn't know it, I'm fat and nobody wants to see me, is most frequently when the trolls pop up. Usually I catch them fairly quickly and delete their comments, but it's to prevent them from spamming. So it slows it down to every 5 seconds. Okay, Knit and Crochet Tiger has said there's many tutorials on YouTube that show how to do bust shaping. So yes, I would really suggest looking for bust shaping stuff. YouTube is obviously awesome. Raglan sleeves, okay, so you shouldn't have that big of a problem with, but again, so what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing the neck shaping and the raglan shaping at the same time. So just track that. Sarah, the best way to help someone who is a true mirror knitter sit across and then watch the back of you. Well, okay. Well, that's cool. I will keep that in mind if I run into anyone. Okay. Following patterns. It's calming for an overthinker. I find that the number one thing that gets people in trouble when they're trying to follow a knitting pattern is thinking about it too hard. Knitting patterns are very, very literal. If the stitch says knit front back, it literally means knit in the front of the stitch, then knit in the back of the stitch. And it's just, I really feel like one of the things when I'm teaching knitting, I say is that just like when you cook a recipe, right? The best thing and the thing they always tell you to do is sit down, read all the ingredients, read through all the steps, and make sure you know what you're getting into. Because if you don't and you just start cooking, what happens is you go through the ingredients and you start putting it together, and then you hit the point where it says marinate for 8 hours and you have to order pizza. Because you don't have 8 hours. So I really recommend that you look at a knitting pattern and read through the whole thing. See what ingredients it takes. And by ingredients, I mean the materials, and the stitches. What are the ingredients that make this up? Make sure you understand. Look at the abbreviations and make sure you understand the stitches that are in there. If there is an abbreviation you don't know, get on the internet and Google it. Get on YouTube and look for it so you know what you're getting into. Read through the whole thing. If there's any part of it where there's at the same time, make sure to like circle it or indicate it some way. If you're doing something that has multiple sizes, go through the whole thing and highlight the instructions that differentiate the size you're making. Read through the whole thing, because you also need to get to the end to know what the blocking information is on it, because the blocking information, if you're substituting yarn, is going to tell you a lot about what fiber you need to use. Because if at the end it tells you to block assertively or aggressively or whatever, unless you know how to steam block acrylic yarn, you're going to need a natural fiber if this pattern relies on significant blocking elements. So reading through the whole pattern is really a good thing to do. Okay. Trolls don't use at the women live streams. They do. Yeah. Yeah. Trolls are just, they're trolls. I can only speak to my experience, and they're a pain in the butt. And I'm not going to stop doing the live. I was just trying to inform, I think it was Susan, why she wasn't able to post maybe quite as frequently as she wanted to. It's just that I have it. I mean, I can set the slow to like once every 60 seconds, and I just do 5 seconds so I can have a little bit of control over it. It's no big deal. Color work is not scary. No, slip stitch color work is super easy. So I do almost entirely slip stitch color work, which is knitting stripes and slipping stitches. That's what this whole book is about, knitting stripes and slipping stitches. If you can knit stripes, you can knit mosaic or slip stitch tile color work. It really is pretty darn easy. Now, the Alice Starmore Tudor Roses book that you're referring to, that's hard. Alice Starmore is like peak color work. That I won't even tackle that. So yes, there are intimidating and difficult color work, but not all color work falls into that category. They're stunningly beautiful though. Oh, Norwegian thimble. I'm gonna have to Google that. Okay. So, Emmy, I see what you're saying. Please do a knit along, a craft along, a weekly go through part by part. So, Emmy, that is not something that I can see myself doing because when it comes down to it, I am a knitwear designer. I do have this YouTube channel and it's my favorite way to connect with people, but the way I make my living is as a knitwear designer, and that is by selling patterns. And if I'm going to take the time to design something, and I have to go through the entire design and I have to do all the, and I have a video that's on what goes into a knitting design and everything. And if I'm going to write it down, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to charge people for it. Now, typically I only charge $6 or $7, which I think is a reasonable price. But the amount of time and effort it would take for me to write, do all the stuff on developing a pattern, and then make a series of videos on that, it's just so time consuming. And unfortunately, I just can't budget that. I have to use that time that I have in other ways to, keep food on the table. So while um, I know that there are YouTubers who do that type of thing. Most of those YouTubers do that because their primary job is being a YouTuber. And the way that they put food on the table is by being a YouTuber and the advertisements. But I really don't make much money at all off of YouTube, at YouTube as YouTube. I am not a YouTuber. As if you've watched any of my videos, I don't have any fancy editing. I don't do fun camera angles. It's just me talking to literally my phone because my phone has a better camera on it. Since I got a newer phone, it has a better camera than my webcam ever did. So I'm not a YouTuber by profession. So that is not in like the realm of something I'm going to do. The people who do that, it's because their profession is being a YouTuber. If that makes any sense, I really appreciate that you're enthusiastic and you want to do that with me. It's just, I have done knit alongs and I do them through the Facebook, but you say you're not on Facebook. I've also done them on Ravelry, maybe on Instagram, but a step-by-step video one for a whole pattern is not something that's really, I mean, I'm not going to say I'll never ever do it, but right now it's not something that's in the books. Um, okay, let's see. Did I miss anything? Cindy, like reading all the questions on a test first. Yes. Yes, you got to read all the way through, and at the end, you write your name or stand up and say hello or something. Yes. Jenna, I love the way you have yarn requirements for other weight yarn at the end of impulse buy. That was very specific because of the theme for impulse buy, which was I want you to be able to use impulsively purchased skeins. And that was popular, so I'm hoping to do several other ones. Okay. Okay, there's some exciting things talking about. Excellent. Excellent. I'm trying to get some stuff. I'm so excited that you guys are talking to each other here. So we could knit one of your patterns. We could all buy your pattern. But the thing is, and that we might figure out, unless I set the videos to private, nobody's going to buy the pattern if the whole thing is out there in video form for free. I have some small shawls that were easy and they're very only like up to 8 rows that I have as free patterns, but I don't know how I don't and I would have to look into the technology behind that because they would have to be private videos. If they're just on my YouTube channel, then anybody can see them. Oh, a Norwegian thimble. You know what? It's a yarn. I don't know where mine is. I've used something like that before. It's a yarn guide. You know what? I don't know how to do a live because someone on Facebook asked me to demo something. I have not yet figured out how to demo something on a live because the way I have, for you to be able to see my face and my hands at the same time, I would need two cameras. And currently, when I film my demos, the videos that I have that are demo videos, I use the same, I use my phone and it's mounted on, I don't know, you guys aren't going to be able to see this thing here. Doop, doop, doop. See, I got this thingy here. I have this thingy here, which is what I mount my phone on, and I point it at my hands, and that's how I film the thing. So I don't know. I don't know how I would film both my face for live and my hands at the same time. That's a technological thing, and I might get my son on that and see what I can figure out. That could be kind of funny. Sarah Joe, I'm a fabulous YouTuber. I'm not a YouTuber. I just play one on TV. Hey. Okay, let's see here. Sarah Joe, Sarah Joe said you can do unlisted videos and link them on the pattern so only people with the pattern can get them. And that is a lovely thought. But unfortunately, in my experience, people share those kinds of links. But you know what? I'll think about it. I will think about what I can do. You know what? Did I come up with a name for my next cowl after second sock? Currently, the name of it on the document that I'm using is the second sock. So I do not have a name yet. It's just kind of it's kind of hanging out on the floor over there waiting. It's on my blocking mat waiting for a name. It needs a name. Yeah, second sock. Second. I can't decide if it should be second sock cowl or second sock cowl the second or second sock cowl junior or I don't know. I have absolutely no. Yeah, I mean, I will think on that. You have put it in my brain and I will think on a way to see if I can do that. I had fun with second sock and I have finished another cowl and there will be more because it was so fun just knitting 50 grams. It was as close to instant gratification as second sock cowl to electric boogaloo. I may have to do that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get out my little snipping tool and I'm going to dun, dun, dun. There we go. I have saved that. Second sock cowl to electric boogaloo. That would be absolutely hilarious. And I might have to do that. And that's actually, yeah, Junior made me think of a smaller size. So yes, that was the problem there. Yeah, I'm afraid electric boogaloo is going to be, well, okay, y'all. I wasn't going to do this. Here's the cowl blocked. So this is the second sock cowl. It is lace. Okay, I will look for the idea of membership to the channel. Yes, that's the new teal cowl. This is what it looks like blocked. I put a picture of it. It is like really turquoise. And photographing this is going to prove it's one of those colors that digital cameras don't like. So I'm going to have to figure it out. Yes, this is, thank you, Sarah Joe. That will be the name of this one. And it's got this swirliness. So that is it. I'm excited about it. Hi, Knitwitch. I'm glad you joined us. So, yep, that's it. So this is the lacy one. We might end up with a cabley one. I don't know. It's just really satisfying to just knit 50 grams of sock. So we're going to put that down. It was a lot of fun. No, I'm not going to put it on. I don't really put cowls on because I have a very, very short neck. Oh, thank you, Lindsay, so much for coming. So the yarn is actually, it is the same yarn that I knit Impulse by in. It's Life in the Long Grass Moon. It is a merino silk blend. That's why it's a little bit shiny and has a lot of drape to it. Um, I really so at the store I work at, we have a little tub underneath the counter where like spare partially used skeins of yarn end up. I do not know who partially used this skein, but it was in there and I said, "Boss, why is this beautiful yarn in here?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's a partial skein. It's there. We don't have a tag for it." I weighed it. It was 60 grams. So it was just slightly more than half a skein. So I'm like, "Hey, this needs to be a second sock cowl." So that is so that it was just laying around the store. Um, it does have silk in it. That's the drape and that's the shine. If you have been watching for a little while and haven't thought about it, I'd really appreciate it if you'd click the thumbs up, click the like button, just to tell YouTube that you're enjoying this and maybe that it will suggest it to other people. I can appreciate that. The thumbs up really helps YouTube be like, "Yay, this is good. Maybe somebody wants to watch it." It's so ridiculous. It's the Road Not Taken is also a good name. That's the Road Not Taken be a great name for a yarn store because yarn store owners love puns. Um, when I was in Atlanta, I actually, speaking of knitting puns, when I was in Atlanta, I one of the knitting groups I met with, there was only 4 of us. There were only 4 of us, occasionally 5, and we met at a tavern that we met on Tuesday nights because that was the night they had trivia. So we did trivia and it was a lot of fun. And since we were there, we did one of those things where when you're at trivia every night, you use the same name, right? And so our team name was Does a Bear Knit in the Woods? So I thought that was a lot of fun, just personally. And any of those words, occasionally we would say up knit creek. This really, you can put the word knit in place of a rhyming word in any of those phrases, and it makes me laugh. So, but yeah, Does a Bear Knit in the Woods was something I enjoyed. Okay. There was another question from someone that was on the Facebook page, and they asked me to talk about short row shaping and asked me if I could demo it, which is why I haven't figured out how to do demos on this live yet, but I can look into that. And what I would have to say, and I wanted to say about that is short row shaping is not something I'm probably ever going to make a video about because I almost never use short rows and I'm not an expert on it. I don't like trying to demo things that I don't have really a good handle on. I mean, there are things that I occasionally use, but if I'm not like really good at it, I don't want to like say, "Hey, I'm going to do a demo on this." There are other people who are much better at it than I am. And that's one of my videos that I'm consistently getting comments on where I explain the difference between pick up and knit and just pick the difference between pick up stitches and pick up and knit stitches. And it's just an explainer video. I'm just talking about it. And once every couple of months, even though it's a 3-year-old, 4-year-old video, people are like, "A demo would have been much better. I understand much better that way." And the thing is I don't do it. I understand how it works, but I am not competent enough in it to make a demonstration video on it because it's not something I do with any frequency and I'm not very good at it. So I'm not going to make a video showing you how to be not very good at it because I'm not very good at it. So that I wanted to say about the person who asked me to demo short rows. Not something I'm going to be doing anytime soon unless I all of a sudden get into short rows, which if I do, then maybe I will. Okay. So Sarah, suggestions for an acrylic yarn that would be good to knit the second shock to or an acrylic blend? Um, Does a bear knit in the woods on a t-shirt? I don't know. I'll think about that one. I mean, it's been a long time since I put out, we've got the Watch Barbara knit t-shirt with my kitties, but maybe bear knit in the woods would be funny. So here's the thing about acrylic yarn. Acrylic yarn can be great. You can find all kinds of lovely acrylic yarns. And honestly, the second sock cowl doesn't need assertive blocking because it really isn't lacy. So as long as you're comfortable with a little bit of seam blocking, you should be just fine with. I cannot recommend like a brand of acrylic beam blocking, you should be just fine with. I cannot recommend like a brand of acrylic yarn. The acrylic yarn I used to use when I was making baby stuff, and this was many, many moons ago, was Dark Horse. The name of it was Dark Horse acrylic, but they don't make it anymore. It's gone. But it was a really nice acrylic yarn. Vintage. I know Barocco makes some nice acrylic and acrylic blends. And you know, you can find nice stuff at like a Joann's and a Michael's. It's just going to be, I'd recommend maybe you get an extra skein to do a really good swatch and practice the steam blocking and see how it works. But something like Second Sock Cowl doesn't really need the like aggressive blocking that something like lace would need. So you should be okay. But and I don't know anything about fingering weight acrylic yarns. Now that I think about it, I've only ever used like DK weight. I'm sure there are fingering weight acrylic yarns. I just haven't used them. Oh, thank you, Emmy. That is a lovely thing to say. What are my top 3 online shops? Kathy, see, I can't answer those questions because because I work at a local yarn store, I don't really shop online. Um, but if you're looking for really, really beautiful hand dyed, like independent dye yarn, Eat Sleep Knit is a wonderful resource. I've done unboxing videos for them and they have absolutely lovely, lovely stuff, but it all definitely is more on the high end. We're talking, they have Madeline Tosh and Malabrigo and Manos to Uruguay and Hedgehog Fibers and Miss Babs. They have all of these independent, that's like their niche. I have had excellent success with Knit Picks. There are yarns from Knit Picks in both of my books. I think Knit Picks is a great resource for really budget friendly but high quality yarns. So those are two. Eat Sleep Knit and Knit Picks are both excellent online resources. I have ordered yarns from Webs. Webs is excellent. I have ordered yarn from Jimmy Bean's Wool. Actually, I ordered really cute little bags from them as well. So Jimmy Bean's, Webs, Knit Picks, Eat Sleep Knit are going to be the ones. And then I have gotten yarn from like Etsy stores where I'm supporting like little tiny indie dyers. And that can be hit or miss. So it's sometimes you chalk it up to just trying to support a growing artist who is learning their craft. Yep. Say, and actually, yes, Jenna says Miss Babs. Miss Babs. I adore Miss Babs yarn. And but it's not what I would consider like I mean, she has an online website, but the only thing she sells is her yarn and her products. Eat Sleep Knit, Webs, Knit Picks. They have like a larger variety of yarns. So Nikki, they have quit sending me boxes. I think that was just something they were experimenting with for like a year. So if you go back and look, I pretty much did a year worth of those and they haven't sent me anymore. So I don't anticipate getting any more of those. Speaking of Miss Babs, I have this to show y'all. So I'm contemplating a new shawl and this is actually, it's hard to see the color of it. So it's this really, really pale green, but it has these pink speckles in it. For some reason, there's none on the outside. So it's got this little tiny bit of speckly pink and these variants of green. So I thought this would be a really fun color to knit with because it's spring. The color is wand flower. So this is the next, if it's going to be a shawl eventually, I'm thinking about it, but this is actually interesting because this is one that looked better in the skein. Like when it's skeined, you can't really see. And I think it's going to look cooler knit up, but it's just going to have that pink kind of flashing through it. Celery is actually an excellent description of this, Deborah. It's like a really, really pale yellowy green. I thought it was very springy. I like it. Let me see if I can pull up Miss Babs. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's 3-ply. Okay, I'm gonna click on this and click on this. So here we go. This is Miss Babs. Um, Mine's on Yowza. Here it is. So this is what this was before it was wound up. So you can see it's got these like speckles, and it's got that variegation. So everyone's a little bit different. And so there. So that is going to be a new shawl. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be fun. It's a completely different color. Grello. It doesn't have any gray in it, but Grello as in green and yellow. That makes total sense. So yes, I'm excited about this. I'm going to stick it back here. So, okay, I'm trying to see if I've missed any questions. Okay, so we've been on for a little over an hour. I really appreciate you all joining me here. Does anyone have any last minute questions? Emmy, I want you to know I appreciate all of the things you said, and you've got me thinking, and I will see what I can come up with. I will definitely look into I think you said subscription. I don't know. I will look into the tools that YouTube makes available to me. I also have a Patreon, and we might be able to do it that way in some way. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out, because you can put videos there, or I can look into one of those teaching sites. I don't know. The problem is there's so many possibilities, but then it's the technology that trips me up, because I'm not the best with technology. So I really appreciate all of you joining me and being here with me. Do we have any other questions? I haven't seen any comments, but I know it takes a minute. Karen, I would do zero work if I worked in a yarn store. So the thing is that I have gotten to the point that I kind of consider the entire yarn store my stash. So I'm okay with leaving the yarn there, but we just had Miss Babs at the store for a big trunk show. So I had to get that yarn because it wasn't necessarily going to be in the store. Oh, thank you. You have fun in Merida. So exciting. One of these days I'm going to get down there. So thank you. Okay, so the Patreon, I want to real quick. So my Patreon right now I really just consider it a tip jar, okay? And like I believe the only option is to pay me like $2 to $5 a month. You get nothing extra with Patreon. I occasionally go in there and write some notes and stuff. The Patreon is just there as a tip jar. If you want to, if people feel like that they've gotten a lot out of my videos and they just want to support me continuing to make videos, it's just for that. Because currently I make as many videos as I can. I give as much of my time as I can to YouTube, and I can't really make more videos. So being in the Patreon doesn't get you anything extra. It's just a tip jar. So I don't want to push anybody towards Patreon who thinks that that's going to get them extra stuff. But it could be a way to do an extra thing if I'm going to try to do it. But I mean, if you want to support me on Patreon, yay. But also it's not something, it's just, I do a video or this live now once a week, and I've been doing it since 2016. So it was just a way. There were people who were like, is there any way that I can give you money? And I'm like, you can give me money. If you don't want to buy a knitting pattern, it is just another way to do it. Thank you. Excellent. I'm glad you had a happy hour. Now it's time to go a little wine. Oh, I'm so sorry your kids are sick, Karen. That is not good. That is not good, but hopefully they will get it together. Single skein fingering weight beginner shawl. It depends on your definition of beginner. Okay. And this is what I've gotten into issues with. Because beginner means different things to different people. Impulse buy is really straightforward, but it does have lace in it. If you are talking about very first shawl you've ever done, really what I would recommend is I just made my own video go away because I'm trying to get that. If if you go to actually, you know what I'm going to do here? Let's go to screen share again, and I'm going to go to my website. We're going to go to my YouTube. So this is like an inception sort of thing. If you go to here and you look at my popular videos, so here is a playlist that I have for beginning knitters. And this is all information for beginning knitters. I'm trying to scroll slowly so nobody gets nauseous. I don't know if I put the mini shawls here. I can't remember. No, I did not. But all of these are really great for beginners. The mini shawl videos, I think they're going to be in the knitting tutorials. This video right here. And I got to hit pause. Nope, stop. So this is let's hit the share button. I'm going to copy that link. This is so inception. There you go. So this is a completely free pattern, and I walk you through step by step making this shawl. It is one row. So that one is super easy. And then if you scroll down, go away. No, stop it. There are so this one is a 3 wedge shawl. This is not going to be a good one for a single skein. You'll need 2 skeins to make that in any size. But this easy crescent shaped shawl, you could definitely get 1 skein out of that. If you wanted, this is not a beginner. This one, so beginner. This side to side triangle would actually be a pretty good for a beginner. And then these are in, I don't know if I did it. So those are like for a beginner because it walks you through the whole thing would be what I would recommend. Thank you everybody. So yes, Mapes is a little more than I would consider beginner. Yes, the one on Riker. Yes, that one is super easy. Thank you all so much for joining me. We can definitely talk about more next month at the end of April. I'll be working on some new videos, and as always, talk to me in the comments when I post new videos. Talk to me if you're on the Facebook. We can always talk in Facebook, but the comments here also a great place. So thank you so much. You have a lovely evening and a great weekend. I hope you have a lot of Fibery fun, whatever you are planning. So I got to find the button again. Thank you so much. And thank you all for your kind words. I've read them and I really appreciate all of the positive, uplifting comments. So thank you so much. Okay. Push that button. Is it working? Technology. You have a good night.